To pursue science is not to disparage the things of the spirit. In fact, to pursue science rightly is to furnish the framework on which the spirit may rise.
Welcome to the Endless Frontiers, your home for all things science, fiction, and science fiction. I'm your host, Jed Morgan, and welcome into episode 24 of the Write or Flight podcast. We're coming up on 6 months, actually probably past 6 months, of doing this show, and we've gone non-stop every week since its inception. I've made it work. It's been rescheduled, it's been truncated, but it's always happened, and that is my goal forever. As long as the show is a thing, I hope to have it happen at least once a week because it's a hell of a lot of fun. I love hanging out with all of you and getting all this science talk out of my system. Not everyone in my personal life can just sit there for 2 hours while I narrate to them the week's science news, some pop culture news, and just unload all the things that I've been thinking about the science news of the week. But if you're here, you seem to enjoy it, so I greatly appreciate this outlet as much as anything else. And speaking of you, thank you so much for watching, whether or not it's on the YouTube side or the Kick side. It's great to have you here. I see Legatus Legionist, the Mod Supreme, is already doing the Lord's work on both the YouTube and Kick. Looks like he made it back in time. And Dash is here as well, saying 3, 2, 1, liftoff. Liftoff indeed. I'm looking forward to more launches. It's going to be a little while before NASA does any big launches, with Artemis 3 still, I think, at least a year away. It's not going to be the beginning of 2027 anymore, but still 2027. There is a semi-big SpaceX launch coming up in the near future. I don't know the exact date on this new test, but it's still not a manned test or anything like that of Starship. So it's going to be a little while before we get another great moment of the launch, like Artemis 2. Artemis 2's launch was just... it felt so good to be excited about astronomy, to be excited about space travel again, to have people who hadn't cared in decades, really, come together and remember the wonder of space travel, looking up at the stars for the first time in many years and saying, wow, it's vast and beautiful out there. How far can we go? If nothing else, they gazed upon the moon thinking, we're going back there soon. And that was a wonderful thing. Yes, there were all the flat earthers and space is fake and moon landing deniers who came out of the woodwork with the launch, but I would say the positivity far outweighed their negativity, and it was such a heartwarming moment that I'm already feeling like I'm in withdrawals from that moment. I already want it to happen again. I'm already marking my calendar for when something like that will happen again. It probably won't be Artemis 3, at least to that extent. I'm still going to enjoy it to the same degree as Artemis 2, but Artemis 4 and 5, when we actually send people back to the moon, that's going to be insane. That's going to be generational. That's going to be what can really compete with the Apollo missions in terms of broadcast viewership and stuff like that. And I very much look forward to it. Dr. Rachel stopped by saying, "Hail nerd, hail Dr. Rachel." Yes, I am a nerd. It's out. I'm out of the closet, everyone. I'm finally confessing my real truth. I'm a nerd. Please don't make too many jokes. Please say nice things to me. Yeah, and in other news, water is wet, by the way. I know. Dihydrogen monoxide. It's it's safe. It's water. I still laugh about that. I know I talked about that a few weeks ago, but the people freaking out about dihydrogen monoxide, it suddenly disappeared. I think enough people started telling those conspiracy theorists, uh, that's water, mate. That conspiracy theory has finally just drifted off into nothingness. It evaporated as quickly as it appeared because it truly was one of the dumbest conspiracy theories in recent memory, I think. I can at least get the mentality of flat earthers, space is fake deniers. They're so jaded by the world and nihilistic that they believe everything has to be a lie. Everything must be a lie. There's no truth and stuff like that. I can understand that mentality. It's diagnosable, but at least it makes sense. With dihydrogen monoxide, that's or like Bigfoot, I can understand why people want to believe in fantastic creatures, crypts out in the woods. But dihydrogen monoxide, that's a fundamental misunderstanding of chemistry. And you could have just Googled it. Really, you could have just looked at your the little nutrition fact at the back of the thing that was freaking out and say dihydrogen monoxide. I wonder what that is. Google, oh, it's water, and go on with your day. But they decided to go, oh, that's that. I don't know what that is. It must be poison. It's gonna make my skin burn, and it's gonna melt my insides. Like that. That's just too far. All right, that's too much. Please see a doctor, see a medical professional. If you read the word dihydrogen monoxide and instead of doing research, you started panicking. Yes, there are a lot of ingredients that look scary on a nutrition fact sheet. That's true. There's a lot of acids. Not everyone knows that acids can be good in certain dosages and stuff like that. Even certain things that could be poisons in large quantities are healthy for us in minor quantities, stuff like that. Nutrition fact sheets can look scary, but if you do just the bare minimum research, Google is at your fingertips. A lot of that fear can be assuaged. Not everything is healthy. I'm not saying that whatsoever. A lot of modern junk food is still not good for you, but these people, these major conspiracy theorists, they never put in the effort to try. The information is more at our fingertips now than ever before. Every question that they have has mountains of data to support the general conclusion, but they decide it doesn't make sense to them. So everything must be a lie. I think that's a very narcissistic perspective because they seem to think that they have more intelligence than the rest of the world combined. I do not think I'm the smartest person in the world. I do rely on people smarter than myself, but I still look for the information when it's important. I still look for the data, and I do believe I'm intelligent enough to recognize good data from bad data, but I'm not the smartest person in the world. It would be egotistical of me to assume so. So I'm not going to say I don't understand it and I'm clearly the smartest person ever. So there's a massive conspiracy theory to cover the truth from the eyes of the wise like me. Dash says, exposed as a nerd, and after you had your fedora surgically removed, too. I do still have my fedora. It's actually right over there. I can see it right now. It never fit. My wife, every time I come out of stream, I take off my hat and, go about my daily life, and I have this massive red mark. I still do with all my hats, because my head is ridiculously large. But it was way too bad with that hat, and the brand changed. The fedora didn't make sense anymore, and I don't know if the fedora ever really did make sense. I don't think I would attach it so vehemently to my brand if I were to redo Hollywood Scholar, like go back in time. But yeah, it's weird not wearing a fedora anymore. It's nice that my headphones aren't crushing part of my hat to be on my head. Dash high fructose corn syrup. Yeah, that's not good for you on the nutrition sheet, but Yeah, they're rightful. It's okay to be upset about that one. That one is not quite healthy for it. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know the specifics of why it's not healthy or anything like that. But it's not hard to do research these days. It's easier than ever. And luckily, none of my news stories today are about that. Not really. I think I might briefly mention that mentality on one of them, conspiracy theorists on one of them, but it's not about that. It's really not about that. It's an exciting one that I absolutely love. And I don't know why. My room is ridiculously hot right now, so I apologize if I have to wipe the fucking sweat from my face. I am a gross human being right now, and you have to see it. You have to gaze upon this foulness. But I give to the world my sweaty visage. But how is everyone doing on this Monday evening? This should be the time slot going forward. This is what it's going to look like going forward. Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, the Ride or Flight podcast. That gives me enough time that if I'm teleworking, I got plenty of time to set up the stream. But even if I'm not teleworking, I have enough time to get home from the office and set up everything. And I can make it pretty consistently on Mondays. Gives me a few days gap, well, only Sundays gap between Saturday night drive-in and Ride or Flight, and then I'm gonna have Thursday as my gaming night. That way, I break up my streams in a nice way. Dash says corn syrup is no more unhealthy than cane sugar, just more junk science and hysteria. Really? Okay, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. I'm not a nutritionist. I just know high fructose corn syrup freaks a lot of people out, and I heard it from what I thought were legitimate sources. But is it really just more hysteria? It doesn't surprise me in the least. I need to do research on it, but is it really on the same level of, oh my god, corn syrup? Oh my god, it might be dangerous. I don't know if it's healthy for you. Cane sugar, in large quantities, I think anything's bad. Let me get that straight. Anything in large enough quantities is bad for you. Not just drowning quantities, but in it's a lot smaller dosage than that to be dangerous. Anything can be dangerous, though. I actually love the idea that high fructose corn syrup isn't that bad. I'm gonna have to look into that, Dash. I appreciate you calling me out on that, because I didn't know. I didn't know the corn syrup wasn't that big of a deal. Dash, the MSG scare is based on a handful of Karens who reacted the same to placebo. Placebos are great. Placebos are important, and they're kind of funny to show you how necessary something is, or more likely, how unnecessary that they are. But yeah, placebos, I find humorous a lot of times, the way that they're out in the world, hidden in technology sometimes, and they're definitely important for any type of scientific research. Anytime, not just medical. I think they're important for astronomy in some ways. You just need to use it to verify the data. Make sure it's not a ghost or hallucination of the positive effects. But Karens, man, they reshape the world in their own image, and we get shittier every year because of it. They're a leading cause, I think, of the craziness in America. Not the main one, but at least a leading cause. The MSG, though, I'm not sure what the MSG is. That, yeah, I'm not sure what MSG is. More people need to understand placebos. More people need to take placebos without realizing it, of course, otherwise it's useless. But placebos are essential points of science. Monosodium glutamine. I butchered that last word, but I'm going to have to research that, Dash. Nutrition is not something that I've researched even slightly. It is not a science that I know anything about. My wife, not my wife. This is going to sound really bad now that I said my wife. My sister is a nutritionist, a professional nutritionist. She's actually an instructor for it now as well at a local community college where she lives. So I might need to ask her some questions about it. The dreaded salt in Chinese food. Yeah, salt is actually really good for you. I remember being told growing up, no, no salt. You're going to get fatter. No salt. And yet, I'm sure too much salt is a problem. Of course, too much of anything is a problem. But not enough salt is a really big problem. It's way quicker of a problem with this a lack of salt than too much salt, I think. Dreaded salt in Chinese food. I don't know about a lot of these freakouts that you're talking about, Dash. I missed a lot of these nutrition scares. But from the way that you're describing them, they're about on par with the dihydrogen monoxide. It's just a fundamental misunderstanding. You see something scary that you don't understand, and instead of researching it, you assume it's poison. I can't imagine going through my life assuming everything that I didn't understand in my food was poison. Yes, research it. If you don't understand and you're curious and you're worried, research it. Absolutely. But to just assume it's poison and then have the thought process end there, that's a horrible existence. You'll see phantom shadows everywhere, assassins in the dark. That's paranoia, I think. That's delving into paranoia territory. I think quite a lot of Karens are paranoid. Did any of you guys actually see the Karen movie from a few years ago? You might not even remember it. There was a Karen movie, I think from about 2020. Like, I think it was somewhere around COVID, but it was about a racist Karen rather than a Karen like what you're talking about, Dash. But this African-American couple moved into a white neighborhood, and there was a Karen across the street, and she goes full serial killer on them, and it's a slasher film about how you stop the Karen, stop the racism, and they visit the house. The couple visits the Karen's house, and it's covered with racist memorabilia like Confederate flags, and she visits their house, and she's like, oh, you have stuff from Africa, and just the things that were red flags from her behavior for the couple to know that she was a racist were hilarious caricatures. I saw the whole movie. It was bizarre and focusing on the wrong things. Yes, are there racist Karens? Absolutely. But they're not the famous ones. The famous ones are the ones freaking out about nothing, like how long a line is taking to move, or food that they don't understand, or not getting exactly what they want from a retail store, even though what they're wanting they imagined and doesn't exist or can't happen. They don't understand technology. That's how a Karen movie would go. It shouldn't be a slasher film. It should be a bit of a comedy. Like, if I were making a Karen movie, someone came to me and says, gun to your head, you have to make a Karen movie. I'm making an Idiocracy style film where everybody's a Karen, and there's only one normal person left in the world trying to undo the Karenness of the world rather than the stupidity, even though they're similar ideas. I think that would be hilarious. Or do the exact inverse, the world's first Karen, as she goes through utopia and finds issues with it, starts poking holes and like, you guys are clean? And like some freak out about that. You could have a lot of humor with a Karen at that level. You don't have to make it political. You don't have to make it racist. You don't have to make it contemporary in any sense. Karens have always existed in one form and of another. Like, have a TV show, a miniseries where they're 20-minute episodes for Karens throughout history. And it's, a bitchy Egyptian pharaoh's wife is a Karen. There's so much content from the idea of Karens in this movie's like, racist killer. It was so bad. It was a terrible film, but I still laughed at how bad it was. They did not intend me to be laughing the way I was, but I was laughing at it. Dash, MSG is 60% less sodium than table salt. And I'm still going to butcher it. The glutamate part is an essential amino acid in everything. Yeah, they don't understand how important amino acids are. They don't understand acids to know DNA. The A stands for acid. Acid's really important to the human body. It's not just, melt your hand off movie acid. Acid's a good thing. Amino acids are a damn good thing. Karens imagined they were allergic to it. Common in Chinese takeout. Really? They really saw some a different type of salt that you're talking about, the MSG in Chinese food. They thought they were allergic to it and thought that that end part was scary. The glutamate, I'm butchering that. I'm sure I am. At least it's not acetaminophen or acetaminophen. I hope I'm not doing that bad with the word, but damn. Did they even react when they were told that it was a placebo or that they weren't actually taking MSG? Now every product is advertised as MSG free for them. That's so dumb. I don't like when the whole world has to change itself for the stupidity of a few. Like that example, those Karens just needed to be told, hey, that doesn't make any sense. Here, try it. Or you took a placebo, you didn't actually take it. That's not how anything works. Have it explained to them, and if they still freaked out about it, you ignore them. Same thing with the dihydrogen monoxide people. You don't need to make the FDA mandate that everyone write water instead of dihydrogen monoxide. And in a more extreme case, I don't think Tide Pods need to have an advertisement on them not to eat them. If people are going to be that dumb, a warning label is not going to stop them. And to have that level of stupidity, now MSG, like you said, there's an essential amino acid in it, so it's probably good for you. So the Karens had a healthy salt removed from Chinese takeout, and it has to be advertised that it doesn't have MSG in it because they misunderstood it, thought it was poison. So they're actively making food less healthy, it sounds like. There might be a better alternate. Like MSG is probably not the perfect type of salt, so maybe they swapped it in for a better type of salt. Who knows? But that type of Karen stuff really pisses me off. At least 1 in 1,000 people actually have a problem with gluten, but the gluten-free fad has gotten out of hand too. That's a good example of it as well. There are too many fads these days. There are too many self-diagnoses. There's so little trust in authority that they wouldn't even trust a real diagnosis or lack thereof. Anyway, yes, you shouldn't trust authority blindly, but if you don't know better and don't decide to research and figure it out for yourself, you do have to trust certain types of authority. You can't just assume you're the smartest person in the room, reject all authority, and make the world a dumber place as a result. Chinese food often still uses it. All grocery products tout being MSG free, though. Always were. So they're bragging about something that they never even changed. You're kind of depressing me, Dash. See, make a movie about Karens being evil like that. Evil and stupid like that. Karens are a big reason why the asteroid's not a bad idea. All right, we're half an hour in. I should probably start with my first topic for the day. It's a nice, sweet little one. We should have a good talk about it. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers and grandmothers out there. Mother's Day was yesterday, and while I'm not fortunate enough to have a mother in my life, there are so many maternal figures that shaped the person I am today. So this week, especially yesterday, let's appreciate the women who shaped who we are, but also who shaped other things about the society and the science that we use so readily. Happy Mother's Day from the Hubble Twitter account for Nancy Grace Roman, one of the pioneers for the Hubble telescope program. As NASA's first chief astronomer, she pushed to turn the Hubble mission from hopeful speculation to pioneering reality. Read more about her life and career here. There are more types of mothers than biological mothers. There are mothers who birth civilizations. There are mothers who defined eras. There are mothers who ruled nations. And there are mothers who helped birth one of the most important pieces of technology that we've had thus far, especially in astronomy. The Hubble Space Telescope was able to capture stunning vistas of the universe, Give us glimpses of the pillars of creation. Give us a glimpse into the past, out to the far reaches of the observable universe. It really let us see our place in the universe for the very first time. It showed us the beauty of it as well, in ways that we never could have dreamed of. So I wanted to celebrate her here as well and remind everyone that later on this year, the Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope will launch and begin the next big mission in astronomy. Her next child is coming, named in her honor. Hubble's replacement is on the way, so her work is not finished. Her contribution to the realm of astronomy is not complete. This telescope gives a larger field of view than Hubble did. This telescope will work with Hubble because Hubble's not actually going away, and the James Webb Space Telescope to settle essential questions about dark energy, exoplanets, and more. Dark energy is one of the biggest mysteries in modern day cosmology and astronomy. So this new telescope may give us some of the key pieces of information to finally figure out this great mystery about why the expansion of the universe is accelerating. So we have to honor Nancy Grace Roman this Mother's Day. I am very much looking forward to the Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope. I think most people are shortening it to just the Roman Telescope, and I appreciate that. The James Webb Space Telescope is too long of a name, and no one really shortens it to the Webb. I guess because, that might be too close to the internet, but, I want to appreciate the scientist that led us here. She really did contribute a whole lot. And this is on a separate note, but of course, this isn't going to surprise anyone. I love movies about NASA. I love Apollo 13. I love The Right Stuff. I need to watch it again. It's just so long that I haven't got back to it. I need to watch First Man. I don't know if that's any good, but I love movies about NASA. And there's one that I saw several years ago about when it came out, maybe a year after it came out, that I never knew how to feel about. It made sense contextually, and it's not woke or anything like that. I don't think it's woke. But Hidden Figures. I watched it. It was really interesting, the mathematical side of things, because a lot of times conspiracy theorists are like, oh, they sent people to the moon in computers that had like 4 megabytes of memory or of storage. How dumb do you have to be to think that was the case? Yes, they had computers with very limited capabilities back then, but they did the equations by hand. There are some mathematicians from the Apollo missions who were photographed next to the equations that they did. There was one woman, there's a famous photo of a woman who, her equations that were used in the Apollo missions were stacked higher than her. So they had to do it by hand. And Hidden Figures was a lot about the black women in NASA who did work like that, who were working on the mathematical side of things, orbital mechanics and whatnot. And it was just about overcoming racism in NASA to achieve the mission. And, racism, absolutely a thing, especially in the 60s. I don't think most people can deny that racism was really bad in the 60s and 70s. But I didn't love the movie. I didn't think it was super well written. It had some interesting things about it. Good performances. I believe the main character's name was, the actress is Tiffany Haddish. I apologize if I got that incorrectly. But recently, I saw some interview quotes from people who actually lived through that and knew the people involved. And Jim Parsons' character was shown as racist in the movie, I believe. And Kevin Costner's character was seen as breaking down barriers between races and helping out these women a lot. And these testimonies are like, no, we didn't have time to be racist. We were all working together. We had to be one cohesive unit. So yes, there were race-specific bathrooms, but apparently they weren't enforced according to these testimonies, these interviews. It wasn't anywhere near as bad as the movie laid it out to be. Of course, there was room for improvement. They didn't deny that. But the movie made it seem like NASA was this horrible institution that these women had to fight tooth and nail for. And it doesn't seem to be the case. So I hate that you have to rewrite history to make these women who were instrumental in the history of NASA seem like victims. They achieved great things. Nancy Grace Roman achieved great things, and I'm sure she faced sexism, no, or faced sexism. That's absolutely true. But to make it seem like the whole world was against her, there's no way she could have been the first chief astronomer in NASA if that were the case, if everybody was against her. There's no way that would be even possible. So rewriting history, and I think that takes something away from the true story of these people, of these women in this case, to make their story about sexism and racism, and it makes all the people at NASA who didn't actually behave as that film depicts, it hurts their stories as well, because they were very instrumental in those early NASA projects as well. They were great people. That's the thing about scientists, is a lot of them are altruists, especially the people in NASA. They're not getting paid well. The government is not known for high wages. These people were part of something incredible. They wanted to be among the first pioneers to send people into space, send people to the moon, launch the first satellite, launch a space telescope. Can you imagine how insane that was when it was first posed? Yeah, we want to take this thing, put it in orbit, control it remotely, and view the edges of the observable universe. That sounds like you're smoking crack if you don't have any context for the ability to recognize that was possible. So I'm not a fan of rewriting history in any way, shape, or form. These people did great things. You don't have to damage some to make others seem like victims and heroes when they were all, from all accounts, great people who did great things. I don't know. Reading those interview quotes really pissed me off. I don't know if they're true. I'd need to independently verify them before I go around and say, did you know Hidden Figures was a pack of lies? I'm not going to seriously say that until I know for sure. And if those interviews are proved to be false, I'll adapt accordingly. But yeah, it was very disappointing to see that. I doubt I'll ever watch Hidden Figures again, not just because of that, just I kind of found the movie boring. But Dash said Chinese food often still uses, oh yeah, I already read that one. Dash, the NASA woman wasn't next to equations, it was computer code she wrote. Is that the image? I'm gonna look up the image. But if it was computer code, that's still insane. It's mainly written computer code. NASA woman with equations she wrote. Pioneering, I want to find this image. Lead of NASA. Okay, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It was her software that she wrote that stacked up higher than her. It's still a great image. I'll pull it up here so you can all see it. Margaret Hamilton. She was the lead software led the software team. This woman was instrumental in the Apollo mission, in a position of authority in the 1960s, and was seen as a subject matter expert to write this much computer code. And yes, they still wrote out a lot of equations by hand. What I said earlier is still true. Just this image was about something else. But this image, that's incredible. That's why space travel, I think, is so important. It broke down barriers in society. No one at the time seemed to really care about sex or race. It was, we're a part of this mission. Are you the best person for this job? Clearly she was. We got to the moon with her code, and she did a lot of hard work. Like, this isn't easy. I know how to write computer code, and especially back then, this seems insane. This seems absolutely insane. It's impressive. So they were just cared, are you the right person for the job? Can you do the work? Clearly, they made the right decision. All right, you are. Great. We'll work together. And nothing else seemed to matter. The demands of society weren't influencing them beyond the presidential pressure to win the space race. Of course, that was the political pressure on them at the time. But in general, they saw what their mission was, and they saw it as important, and it fostered an environment that I think we can be jealous of today, because I don't think any of these people were put in their position artificially. In the 1960s, they're not going to say, yeah, let's just get some woman off the street to lead our software team because it'll look good to the public. No, obviously they don't care about that. It was the ultimate meritocracy. It was the ultimate meritocracy. And as long as science is focused on that, which I don't think it is properly anymore, as in general, as long as it is, we can achieve what seems to be the impossible. That's the beautiful thing about science, is everything we know about science could be viewed as magic. We take it for granted today, but I believe it was Arthur C. Clarke who said any sufficiently advanced technology would be indistinguishable from magic. That's not just talking about aliens in the future. Take yourself out of our current day realm, our time. If even the smallest aspects of our understanding of science, like electromagnetism, bring back some magnets that you can control. A few hundred years ago, 1,000 years ago, for electromagnetism, that might not have been a great example. It would have shocked the people of that era, and they would have believed it was magic. But science is the magic of our reality. It is the lore building of our universe. It's the rules of our universe. And the more we understand, the more we can do. Dead ends, they're not dead forever. We can get off this planet. We can explore the solar system, eventually the galaxy. I don't know if beyond the galaxy is really a human possibility, just with how vast the distances are, but maybe we'll figure out wormholes. Maybe we'll figure out warp. There's so many, that's way more into the realm of science fiction. But science is magic that follows very strict rules, but it is magic. And when we work together, when we allow meritocracy to rule, when the best minds work together, setting aside all differences, we can achieve the impossible and make magic. And I think this is magic. I think this is beautiful. But I'm just a hopeless romantic dreamer, you know. Dash, back then the code was manually entered into the computer with hole punch paper cards. A woman's work like knitting and sewing. Damn. I know I'm over dramatic times, and please, if you feel like I'm taking things too far, rein me back. I'm not gonna be offended if you're like, dude, chill the fuck out. It's just a stack of paper. It's okay. It's okay for you to say that to me. But that is really how I see the world. That is really how I view science and astronomy. It's not some game. It's not just some fascination. I really do think it's that important to our society and the way that we live. So it's not feigned exaggeration. It's earnest exaggeration, or earnest extremism. The goddess, back before computer languages were created, they had to program the computers in machine code, ones and zeros. Yeah, binary. Fucking binary. Nothing about the Apollo missions were easy. We're not saying that they were. That's how impressive they are. What the Artemis crew is doing is amazing. The Artemis program is doing is amazing and incredible and impressive, but it pales in comparison to how amazing the Apollo missions were. They had to do this stuff by hand. They didn't have computers to help them calculate stuff like we do. They didn't have the foundation of technology, of science, of mechanical engineering, of all of that the Apollo mission laid the foundation for. There's a reason why Artemis circled the moon on Artemis 2 rather than Apollo 8. It had the prep work of Apollo, the space shuttle program, and everything else NASA's done that accelerated it from 8 to 2. I still think 2 is as early as it should be because you want to do some initial tests before you send something out that far, and that's what Artemis 1 was. But it all stacks. We're standing on the shoulders of giants. Even the Apollo crew, even the Apollo scientists were standing on the shoulders of Einstein, of Newton. Science is a snowball effect. It grows and it grows and it grows. Just because you're standing on the shoulder of giants doesn't mean you can't become a giant yourself eventually. You just have to, do something unique. The moon base will make the people involved in it into giants of history, of astronomy history. So I'm looking forward to see what giants stand the test of time and who will stand on their shoulders someday in the future. I really do go over dramatic sometimes, don't I? I'm surprised people still watch me sometimes. I go off like that, and it's like, yeah, maybe people shouldn't. I love you guys. I do. I absolutely love you guys, and I appreciate you guys being here. Oh no. Adam's DMing me. And it looks like Rings of Power Season 3 has a release date. Oh boy. It turns out Rings of Power Season 3 is indeed coming out this year, a little bit later than we forecasted, but it is coming. Lord of the Rings of Power Season 3 will premiere November 11th on Prime Video. It'll be showing through my birthday this year. What a great birthday present for me. According to the official description, Season 3 will take place over several years. I'm adding in that for them. It will take place several years after the events of Season 2, picking up at the height of the War of the Elves and Sauron as the Dark Lord seeks to craft the one ring that will give him the edge he needs to win the war, bind all peoples to his will, and at last rule all Middle-earth. Amazon recently came out and said they are dedicated to their 5-season plan. Yet they're already getting to the One Ring in Season 3. I predicted that this season would focus primarily on the forging of the Nine Ring, the gathering of the Nazgul, and maybe leave off with a hint of the One Ring. Then Season 4 be about crafting the One Ring, and then Season 5 be about the War of the Last Alliance. But they seem to be rushing through it. I gave them not the benefit of the doubt, but I unfortunately assumed that they would make a smart decision. And they clearly are not capable of that. So I'm going to be here with Adam and anybody else who wants to join us for This is Mordor Country. It will absolutely return, the show where Adam and myself review each weekly episode of the Rings of Power. We're going to see it through to the end. We've invested far too much with the first 2 seasons to give up now. I can't imagine. What are we going to look like after 10 years when Season 5 finally comes out and we look back at Season 1's This is Mordor Country? We're going to see the soft-faced children that we were then and say, "Oh, poor child, you knew not what lay in store." But Season 3 is coming, and that is indeed a threat by Amazon. I didn't know that was happening. He just DM'd it to me during the show. It looks like it was announced at 6:19 p.m., at least this tweet, the Variety tweet. So it was out, the news was out prior to me starting the stream, but I didn't know about it. I don't know why I do this to myself sometimes. I really don't. We want to talk about something more positive. I want to talk about something more positive. At least a little. Maybe I shouldn't say it's more positive. It's more interesting. We'll call it more interesting. We'll jump to that right away. The sun unleashes colossal solar flare and coronal mass ejection, raising the chances of northern lights this week. The sun is a powerful thing. It is immense and frightening. With a whim, it could send out something like this, a coronal mass injection, and if it lines up just right, which is incredibly unlikely, it could strip away our magnetosphere. It could disable our electric grid. We live on the cusp of fate, relying on the sun not to accidentally destroy us. Every day is a gift by the sun, and I think we do need to appreciate that sometimes. But in the midst of that threat, of that axe looming over our heads, something beautiful is created, because the universe is a vast, dark, and often dangerous place, but it is invariably always a beautiful place. The northern lights from this solar flare, which will probably strike down in 2 days on May 13th, could be seen far, far to the south. I hope to see the northern lights someday. I doubt it'll come all the way down to Florida this time, but the northern lights are literal proof of the earth protecting our world, much like God's promise to Noah after the flood, the rainbow across our northern sky promising that we are safe. That's what the northern lights are when you think about it. They are caused by solar flares that have been successfully thwarted by the Earth's magnetosphere, by our shield against the sun protecting us. And yes, there could be some radio blackouts over the Atlantic, which isn't a huge deal. Hopefully, ships will be able and planes will be able to know about it ahead of time so they can plan accordingly. Doesn't seem like it's going to be too dangerous. But the Northern Lights, a byproduct of danger turned beautiful, and a sign from the earth that we're protected. And I think that's absolutely a wonderful and beautiful thing that nature has put itself together in this way to communicate with us. It's not intentional, I don't think. It's not some piece of, divine intervention. It's just how it all came together. And I think that's an absolutely wonderful thing, that something as dangerous and devastating as a solar flare could result in something as incredible as the Northern Lights. Yeah, that one got a little soapy. That one got a little out of hand. It got away from me. That one got away from me. Dash, the magnetosphere is all that stands between us and the horrors of the Van Allen radiation belt conspiracists imagine. Oh my god. Dude. I don't know if you know about this book, Dash, but Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, I believe it was Conan Doyle, wrote other things besides Sherlock Holmes. He also wrote a story called The Lost World, which is actually kind of similar to the idea that is featured in Jurassic Park: The Lost World. This plateau in the book, in the Arthur Conan Doyle book, there's this plateau in the Amazon that's so isolated from the rest of the world that ancient species have been able to survive. Dinosaurs. It's a little adventure story. It's a lot of fun. I actually really like that book. But there's a sequel to it called The Poison Belt that nobody's read. At least I don't think anyone's even heard of The Poison Belt by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle before. But it says that there is a cloud of poison that Earth's orbit passes through, and the atmosphere gets full of poison, so everyone has to bunker up in their houses, put rags under their doors and everything like that to try to filter out the poison and survive the day. And most people survive. That's in the entire book. Is the main characters from the Lost World are like, I know the poison belt's coming. Come inside and help me cover up the cracks in the house. Waiting. It's done. We're safe. We can breathe again. The poison belt is gone. It's a bizarre book. It's absolutely bizarre. I read it once, and I have no intentions of checking it out again. But that's what I immediately thought of when you said the magnetosphere is protecting us from the Van Allen radiation belt conspiracies. Conspiracy theorists imagine. I just imagined the Van Allen radiation belts descending upon us and poisoning our air. Because these conspiracy theorists, they don't know how radiation works. They imagine, I've seen Terminator 2. Radiation means your skin gets stripped from your bones and you die. Or if you're lucky, you get bad cancer and die soon after. That's all they know about radiation is like fallout and stuff like that. And yes, radiation fallout from a nuclear weapon is devastating. But as with everything, dosage is important. Dosage is very, very important. Time, how much it's spread. But yeah, it's all about dosage and duration of exposure and protection. Those are the important things that can alleviate radiation. It's not that complicated. Radiation exists in every aspect of our lives. We're getting irradiated right now. There are neutrinos passing through our body, most likely, at any given moment. Not that those are irradiated necessarily, just we don't know what's passing through our bodies beyond our ability to see. And yet we're completely unharmed by it all because we are evolved to handle certain amounts of radiation. It's completely normal. And there are ways to mitigate it, especially particle radiation. It's very easy for particle radiation to be stopped by things. The metaphor that I really like is a mutated one from Project Hail Mary, the book, actually. He was talking about how the Talmiba were able to get through the Xenonite, but it was take a bunch of baseballs and throw them into a jungle area. Most of them are going to hit trees or brush or stuff like that, but a few of them will pass through and get to the other side if you're throwing them hard enough. It's kind of the same idea. I think an easier one to understand would be a chain link fence, where the holes in the chain link are about ball size. So you throw a bunch of particles, a lot of baseballs at this chain link fence. Most likely nothing's going to get through. A little bit will get through. That's what protection isn't 100% most of the time, but it's still so greatly alleviated by just having the equivalent of a chain link fence on an atomic level between you and the radiation. They don't realize that, though. But yeah, the poison belt, it's not entirely far-fetched. It wouldn't be poison, and the heliosphere around our solar system and then the magnetic sphere around our planet would take care of any radiation that's like that, any cosmic rays or something like that. But something could get through enough to pose a threat to life on Earth from a cosmic source of something like that. So it is kind of interesting that a man in the 1800s, maybe early 1900s, was able to come up with an idea that is essentially radiation poisoning from cosmic rays. I think that's really cool. So I don't discount that book entirely, even though it's not very plot heavy or character heavy. It's just an interesting idea. And yeah, I just hope flat earthers and the people obsessed with the Van Allen radiation belts actually figure out what radiation is. Get a Geiger counter that's sensitive. I don't know if they make them quite sensitive enough for bananas, but if they do make one sensitive enough for bananas, see that there's radiation everywhere. Talk to some radiologists who deal with x-rays all the time. They're like, yeah, you can go in there and be absolutely fine. I can't do it 20 times a day for 20 years. That's bad for me. But they always assume that they're the smartest people in the room. I don't understand it, so it's a lie. Instead of talking to people, instead of researching, instead of understanding what radiation even is or does. It's not magic kill floaty juice. Dr. Rachel pulls the curtains to keep the solar radiation from frying you indoors. That needs to happen. Yeah, I have gotten sunburnt in the shade before. It's absolutely happened to me on a startlingly regular basis, so it's not a bad idea for me. The poison belt is my life. It's my struggle. I'm just not breathing it in. All right, let me see what we have. All right, I think we can move on to the next one. It's going to piss me off, so you guys might like that. We can't react to it in it's really at all because it's getting people are getting hit for it, but we are going to talk about the Odyssey, unfortunately. Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey is quickly approaching, and I do have to confess that I am not unbiased when it comes to this film. I am a sea of bias. Christopher Nolan is my favorite director. The Prestige, Inception, and Interstellar are three of my favorite films of all time. Dark Knight and Batman Begins, I think, are two of the best superhero movies ever made. When I first heard that he was making this film, I was ecstatic because The Odyssey is one of the most important books in my life. Not just one of my favorites, but it is instrumental in forming me, shaping me into the man that I am today. I first read The Odyssey when I was about 9 years old, and I was swept up into this world of heroes and magic and gods, piety, morality. I became a better person for knowing and loving this story. I try to reread it every few years. It truly has shaped the man I have become today. So, my favorite director and my favorite book united. I had a bias toward this film when it was announced, when the first casting announcements were coming out, when the first behind the scenes photos were coming out, when the first teaser trailers were coming out, and more red flags started to crop up. I defended this film. I tried to give it the benefit of the doubt. I tried to see what Nolan was thinking and justify it. But with this recent release, this full trailer for The Odyssey, my goodwill has officially run out and my bias is inverting. I have come to hate and dread the oncoming release date of The Odyssey. I do not think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be beyond a disaster, but a disgrace and an insult to the source material. These classics are not some YA novel that a modern director can improve, make better, and still create a good product from. This isn't some Twilight story that adaptation integrity isn't a deal breaker for everyone. This is one of the classics, one that's never been seen in its rightful glory on the big screen before. Besides Beowulf, there are few books in human existence that have been as influential as the Odyssey. It is thousands of years old. Historians and scholars from many of the greatest civilizations in history have been molded by it, just like I have been. Generations have been defined by the story of Odysseus and the Iliad before it, the story of Achilles. These were men in service to gods, being great. No modern director should dismiss a story that pivotal to human evolution. I do believe it's pivotal to human societal evolution. It should not be dismissed out of hand, no matter how good of a director you are, no matter how famous you are in the current day, because no director is viewed on the same way Homer is. I doubt in 3,000 years a single modern director or even any director will be remembered to the same degree that Homer is. Christopher Nolan is not leaving his fingerprints on human civilization even a small percentile of the way that Homer did. He's left his fingerprints all over modern cinema and he's done an incredible job with that. But everything in this trailer shows me that he doesn't understand the source material. He doesn't care about the source material. He's making his own film in the zombified skin suit of the Odyssey. I just want to point out a couple things with it. Yes, there are the terrible casting decisions. The casting, I think, is horrendous. Nearly every single person is miscast. The only one who I don't think is miscast is Anne Hathaway as Penelope. I think that's actually rather perfect. She's only a few years older than roughly what you'd imagine Penelope is supposed to be, and she looks young for her age. So she's great. Perfect. Nothing to say wrong about Anne Hathaway's casting. Besides that, every single person is miscast. Matt Damon does not have the gravitas for Odysseus. He should be, the voice that he delivers should make men turn and say, "This is a wise man. I should listen to him." He has none of that gravitas. I do like him as an actor, but he's wrong in this role. Just like Charlize Theron is wrong as Calypso, she'd make a great Circe. But she's Calypso for some reason. And Tom Holland as Telemachus is just sad. I feel sad for Tom Holland in that role. It's pathetic the way that it looks. And I'm not even talking about the other race swaps or anything like that. People are just miscasts. If Lupita is indeed Helen of Troy, the problem is that she is not a conventionally attractive woman. Helen of Troy should be so beautiful that it makes sense why the goddess Aphrodite would promise her to Paris as the instigation of the Trojan War. She's supposed to have the face that launched 1,000 ships. And I'm sorry, Lupita is not in that category of Hollywood actress. I'm sure she's a very attractive and nice person, but she's miscast. So besides the miscast, besides the dull, terrible costuming, besides the anachronisms that make Bill and Ted's looks like a history book, besides the color grading, which seems to have 3 settings: night, dark blue, gray, and fire. Sorry, that's 4 settings. That's all the color grading seems to deliver. It's also bland or hard to see. Besides that, Defy the Gods is the worst thing about all of this. That shows me that Christopher Nolan doesn't know what he's doing. He's been listening to the Emily Wilson version of the Odyssey, the mindset of Emily Wilson, a modern translation of the Odyssey penned by Emily Wilson, has entirely modern dialogue with so much of the charm, the epicness, the gravitas of the story stripped away. This trailer features a line saying, "You're pining for a daddy you never knew." How is that epic? And Defy the Gods shows that he's listening to her. That version of the story, which neuters so much that made it special, is what he's doing. Because Odysseus is one of the most pious of all Greek heroes. The Odyssey starts with the Council of the Gods coming together and saying, "Hey, Odysseus is great. What has he been up to? We need to check up on him." Only Poseidon held a grudge against him for the events of the story. The gods loved Odysseus. He was wise, he was pious, he's hubristic on a human level, but he never thought himself above the gods. They were aiding him, especially at the end. Athena is the only reason that Odysseus came home. Even Hermes helped by delivering the message to Calypso that Odysseus was going home. Odysseus wasn't returning to defy the gods. He wasn't standing in the face of the Olympians saying, "I will not die. I will not bow before you. I will be a man stronger than the gods," and fighting his way home despite all of that. No, he defied the wrath of Poseidon, sure, but he did not defy the wrath of the gods. Without this character of Odysseus, this isn't the Odyssey. It's named after him. It is the most important thing about it. I could forgive this awful image that I have pulled up here. I could forgive the Lestrygonians being in insanely anachronistic plate armor. That is something that I could get past, but I cannot get past the removal of the piety, of the religious aspect of it, and Odysseus's character being warped in this way. That is unforgivable. Nearly everything else in isolation can be forgiven. A few miscasts, alright, fine. The terrible costuming, alright, fine. The color grading, that one bothers me a lot because the Mediterranean and Greece are some of the most colorful places that there are. Greek style architecture and clothing was full of vibrant colors. Their buildings were full of mosaics of intricate beauty. So that one bothers me a lot, but I could get past it. Any of these things in small enough doses, they're all combined to make a huge problem that can't be gotten past. But all of these things in isolation, I could have gotten past. But I cannot get past Defy the Gods. That is what makes this a deal breaker for me. That is what makes me think that this film will be an abomination as an Odyssey fan. Everyone seems to have their reason to not be excited for this film, whether or not it's the casting, the look, the feel, the lack of the epicness, the dialogue. There's a million reasons to hate on this film. Whatever your reason is, I don't think many people are interested in this film. I think Christopher Nolan's box office success for the Odyssey is greatly in question and in danger. I do not see this film making money, at least not a whole lot of money. I'm not predicting it to be a massive flop or anything like that, but it needs, I believe the number is around $700 million to break even. I don't think that's possible because the reception to this trailer has been abysmal. I've barely seen anyone who's excited for it who isn't spurging like a stan praising it for no discernible reason besides autism. There are many reasons to hate it, and it seems like most people are. So I'm saying it now. Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey will fail, and it hurts me to say this, but I want it to. I want it to fail. So maybe someday in another 20 years, a new visionary director can come along and try to give it the justice it's due. It is supposed to be an epic, a religious epic. Take it on like a lot of Christian films are taken on. Pretend that the mythology is real. Pretend that the gods are real, and you'll make something generational. Legatus said Nolan's DEI Odyssey is a desperate attempt to get an Oscar. He might get an Oscar from it because of that. I don't think it's going to have a lot of, acclaim from the audience. I don't think it's going to have a huge box office pull, but I'm sure the critics are going to love it. And I don't think the DEI aspect of it is the biggest problem. Like I said, I barely touched on that fact. The Defy the Gods I see as a monumental problem, a game-breaking problem, a fundamental shattering of the story that I can't let it go. That alone, it's too much. It's done. And yeah, there's a million things to focus on. I don't think the DEI is even in the top 10. Like it's a problem. It doesn't make sense for the location. Some of them you could get by with, like Calypso. I think you could absolutely get by with a race swap. It's a tropical island. She's the daughter of a titan. She's a nymph. She's not in Greece. So you could have an argument for Calypso. Maybe even Circe. A lot of the same argument basically for Circe as for Calypso. The gods, I know this is controversial, but the gods actually in mythology did shapeshift constantly. Dionysus grew up in what's essentially Ethiopia, so the gods changing race isn't that big of a deal to me. I don't think Zendaya should be Athena. That is an abomination all on its own because Athena is my favorite Greek goddess. She is wise and powerful and strong and has gravitas. I don't know who should have played. What's a modern actress who could pull off Athena? I honestly can't think of any. Emily Blunt wouldn't have been terrible, and she's worked with Nolan before. It wouldn't have been great, but it wouldn't have been terrible. Anne Hathaway would have been a good choice for Athena as well. Wise, powerful, and beautiful. That's how you should see Athena, and I get none of those things from Zendaya. But yeah, I think there's a lot bigger problems than the DEI aspect of it. Legata. So will Nolan also have the orchestra, also DEI, so he can get an award for the music too? Probably. Dash Jet. They spent the whole session tuning their identities instead of their instruments. Judas, Eva Green, welcome in. Judas, go barbecue. Great to have you here, my friend. Eva Green. She'd have to dye her hair because it is important, at least to me, that Athena's hair be brown. I would have, if we're bringing Eva Green into the mix, I would have made Eva Green Penelope and Anne Hathaway Athena. I think I would have gone in that direction. Eva Green is a very talented actress. I think she's a perfect Yennefer. Like, if we really got maybe 10 years ago, even now I'd still do it, but let's say 10 years ago, a Witcher live action adaptation that was, made by competent people rather than Netflix, Eva Green is the perfect Yennefer. The perfect Yennefer. And I know the ages wouldn't have lined up necessarily, but like, I would have loved a Witcher adaptation in the year 2000, Eva Green as Yennefer, and this is going to sound weird. Like, this is a deep cut for people these days. Alexis Bledel as Ciri. Eva Green and Alexis Bledel back in the early 2000s would have been generational. I don't know who back then could have played Geralt because Henry Cavill would have been too young. I want Jensen Ackles to be in everything, but he would have been too young back then. So I don't know who could have done it then. Maybe Russell Crowe. That would have been interesting. Cate Blanchett for Athena, that would have been an excellent choice. She'd basically be playing Galadriel again. I was actually thinking about that the other night, about how I would film a scene. Like, if I were the director filming the Odyssey, and there's a technique that they used with Cate Blanchett as Galadriel in the Fellowship of the Ring. When she's first introduced, she's coming down those stairs, and not in the prologue, but later on, when she's coming down the stairs with her husband, the lights are really bright on her, the Fellowship's looking up at her, and when they do her close-ups, they strung Christmas lights up in her field of view, so these twinkling lights reflected in her eyes, and it gave her this ethereal quality. So I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, I do the exact same thing for Athena. Whatever they did to make her clothes glow like that, Galadriel's, make her eyes twinkle, that's how I would have done Athena. But yeah, Cate Blanchett, I think, would be an excellent choice. She's tall. Athena is supposed to be on the taller side, like it's a 6 foot tall woman. Yeah, that would have been really great. And then we would have gotten Morfydd Clark. If we had been hoping for Cate Blanchett, we would have gotten Morfydd Clark. But yeah, Eva Green, I think she would have done a great job. I think she's a little too I don't know what the right word is. I'm gonna say naughty, even though that's not the right word. Like, Eva Green, I would have her as Aphrodite. Like, there's an innate sexuality to Eva Green, this allure about her that I don't think is right for Athena. I don't think Athena should be inherently sexual. I mean, she's supposed to be beautiful, but Eva Green, I just the way that she, like, every facial expression she makes, maybe this is just me revealing that I have a massive thing for Eva Green, even though I don't. Just she drips sexuality, and that would be great for Aphrodite, absolutely, and great for Helen of Troy. Eva Green as Helen of Troy. Oh my God, sultry. Thank you. That's a much better word than naughty. Thank you, Judas. Yes, sultry. Eva Green is. I went to she's dripping with sexuality before I thought of the word sultry. Yes, Eva Green is a very sultry woman that works for someone like Aphrodite or Helen of Troy, but I don't think necessarily works for Athena. But they're all miscast. I think every single person except for Anne Hathaway is miscast. Matt Damon, I do like him as an actor. I love Good Will Hunting. It's actually one of my favorite movies as well. I absolutely love Good Will Hunting. And I like The Martian a lot, but I don't feel like he's a character, he's an actor who has gravitas, at least that I've seen. I need to be able to hear this voice and immediately want to pay attention to it. I want to hear wisdom in it and a natural leader feel about him. So I think Josh Brolin, Sean Bean, and funnily enough, Henry Cavill would be great as Odysseus because he's also supposed to be an incredibly strong person as well. Stringing the bow at the end is a feat of immense strength. So having someone like Henry Cavill, and Henry Cavill's willing to do the nudity of the role, yes, if I made the Odyssey, there would be a shitload of nudity in it. I'm sorry. Well, I'm not sorry. Calypso would be naked the whole time. We'd have historically accurate outfits that have titties popping out the whole time. There would be war scenes with men balls out. I'm showing the historical era in the epic fashion it is due. And yeah, not everyone's gonna like that, to be fair. Dash, did you ever see The Last Duel with Matt Damon? I did, and I hated it. I really hated The Last Duel. I don't remember exactly why. I tried to memory hold the film, but like the three different versions of events of the great, and that was the central aspect of the film, was just bizarre, especially when you learn that it wasn't that complicated in history. Like the historical record doesn't reflect what the movie shows, and it was way more clear cut. But the film's like, yeah, the men were lying the whole time. It's like, then why show their perspectives if it's clear the filmmaker's bias was dripping from every scene? Why is everything dripping right now? Yeah, the plot is absolutely horrendous. I do think the acting's really good. Like, I like Adam Driver in it. I don't remember the actress's name, the main actress. I thought the acting was really good. And Matt Damon, his scars, it was a very interesting character look for him that I really liked. But yeah, that plot pissed me off. I don't think Ridley Scott's been good in decades. I think he was accidentally good in Gladiator. I've been looking at a lot of behind the scenes in the last few months about Gladiator and listening to interviews with Russell Crowe. And it seems like he really fought for the best moments of Gladiator. And Gladiator is only what it is today because of Russell Crowe and not because of Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott made Alien, which I absolutely love. Alien. It's the only Alien movie that I care to watch. Like, even Aliens, I don't really care about, because Alien, that aspect, the horror aspect of it, is why I fell in love with that franchise. So Alien is the only one that I want to rewatch, the only one that I care about. I love Alien, but besides that, there's not a whole lot of good Ridley Scott movies of at least the last 20 years. I hate Legend. Gladiator, I don't think is really due to him. Alien Covenant and Prometheus are some of the worst pieces of dog shit I've ever seen. They are physically offensive and nauseating to me. So yeah, Ridley Scott, I don't think he's as talented as a director as he seems to be. I'll just say that. Dash said Matt Damon's acting fits with his character in that, at least. Yeah, I would agree that they all gave good performances in The Last Duel. Hated the plot so much that I never cared to rewatch it. But yeah, I would see that that's one of the best Matt Damon performances. I don't see him as having a whole lot of range or the gravitas necessary. When he was first announced, like I mentioned at the beginning of that segment, I had biased pro this film. For the longest time, I was trying to give it the benefit of the doubt. So when that first teaser was coming out, when the announcement of Matt Damon as Odysseus came out, I was giving it the benefit of the doubt. I thought, oh, I guess it's not that bad. That's what I was saying online and stuff like that on streams, is it's not that bad. Now that I've broken three of that bias and really see what the film's going to be, and see him in the role, especially if nothing will stand between me and home, not even the gods. I know he can't do it. He's a massive miscast. Judas, how about Damon in The Great Wall? I have seen that film too, and I think that's going to be a better film than The Odyssey. I actually do think that The Great Wall is a better film or will be shown to be a better film. But yeah, that movie's awful. He was phoning it in. He was just taking the Chinese paycheck. Dash said the one time the rest of the movie didn't do Matt Damon justice. The one time he was better than the movie. Oh god, that's true, and it's really sad. I do like Matt Damon. I don't want this to be like, oh, I hate Matt Damon type thing. I really do like him as an actor. Love Good Will Hunting. The Bourne movies I enjoy. I haven't rewatched them in a long time, but I do enjoy them. He's and The Martian I like. I don't have a bias against Matt Damon. I just think he's massively miscast in this role. I think everyone is miscast. Robert Pattinson, what they're making him do is at least not right. I think he could be good in a role like this, but you're pining for a daddy you never knew. Come on. Get some Shakespearean actors. Make them sound epic and archaic. Yes, they should sound archaic. And Emily Wilson's whole thing of like, well, Homer's dialogue didn't sound archaic in his day. Actually, it would have, because the events of the Odyssey take place around 4-ish hundred years before Homer. So he was writing dialogue replicating the speech pattern of his ancestors from 400 years beforehand. So it would have sounded archaic to him and the people of his time. And it was an oral tradition passed down from that era. So some of that archaic speech would have passed down through the generations. So what was about 400 years before us? 400 to 500 years ish? Shakespeare. So this whole, classic Hollywood thing of having Shakespearean English is a pretty good comparison to what Homer would have experienced with the time differential and the evolution of language. Shakespearean English, like Robert Fangles, I think Robert Fangles actually did way better than Old English. Like, it is poetry the way his translation is. It's beautiful language is what he did. The words were a tapestry as much as the story, but that level of archaic makes sense when you know the history. But Emily Wilson was like, no, it doesn't make sense that it's archaic. It doesn't make sense that poetry should sound beautiful. It should sound really mundane, and the story should be really boring. So I remember when I was still giving it the benefit of the doubt, but I was still being critical about a few things several months ago when like the first teaser came out and we were talking about it. And there was a report that Nolan had the Emily Wilson copy of the Odyssey on set. And I called that out on a stream. And I said, that is a problem. And someone on the stream yelled at me. It's like, are you just falling for the headlines? Are you that stupid to just follow for the headlines? Did you know that this is just maybe he was seen with it? And I told this person, it doesn't matter to me. That version is such an abomination that it shouldn't exist. A real Odyssey fan would rather burn her copy of the Odyssey than use it as subject matter or a source of the adaptation. So the fact that he had a copy, whether or not it was the one he used writing his script, was a massive red flag. Now we're getting more confirmation that that is indeed the version that he likes and is using. It's a complete disaster. It's the worst thing he could have done. Every decision he's made is diametrically opposed to what the Odyssey should be. I don't know if Robert Fangles is still alive. Let me look it up. If I made the Odyssey today and Robert Fangles is let me see if he'd lie. No, he died in 2008. Oh, that sucks. He did an incredible job. But I'd get someone like Robert Fangles, a true academic scholar who had that mastery of poetry to help me write the script. I would have actual Greeks in the cast as much as humanly possible. Maybe a few A-listers to help with marketing, sure, but as many Greeks as I can. Have historical advisors, a historical advisor just for costuming, a historical advisor just for architecture, a historical advisor for ship design, a mythological expert, just every piece of the puzzle from experts, and get the best CGI team I can, get the best practical effects team that I can. Charybdis in that trailer is shown as a itty bitty whirlpool. That looks like 10 guys ran in a circle around a swimming pool to make a whirlpool. Charybdis is supposed to make it look like the sea is boiling, and it's inescapable. It's so large, and we with with modern CGI we can show that in all its glory. I would have had the proper amount of nudity, like I said, and I really do think with those simple things done, the best movie in human history could have been made. I do think if Nolan hadn't let his ego get the best of him and he'd been willing to listen to the true experts and not people like Emily Wilson and decide to make everything as colorful as it should be and not focus on the damn dog story, because yeah, that's why he said he did it, is there's a sad dog story in it and he just got a dog. That dog aspect of it is a tiny aspect of it. I'd fucking forgotten that the dog was even in it. But instead of focusing on that, he has the talent. I do believe he is a very talented man. Doesn't take away from his previous success. I do believe he could have made the greatest movie of all time. He had it within his power, but his ego got the best of him. His reach exceeded his grasp, and he's trying to outdo Homer. You shouldn't try to outdo Homer. You should try to do Homer justice. Try to live up to Homer. With that simple mentality change, this could have been the greatest movie ever. But I think it's going to be a fart in the wind. I think it's not going to be received well. I think it's going to be boring. I think it's going to be offensive. I think it's going to be bland, probably hard to hear, and it's going to flounder at the box office. I think its absolute ceiling is 600 million. That's what I'm saying now, is I think the absolute ceiling is 600 million, which isn't a break-even point. It's, what does it need for break-even? It's got a massive marketing budget, I'm sure, or will. Odyssey budget. Okay, so it's 250. What is that? So I guess it could break even at 600. It would absolutely times 2. So, oh, okay. So here's the math here, because it's already 250. So yeah, 625 is break even. So if it does reach 600, that's enough of a margin of error to say maybe the marketing is lower than that. But yeah, 600 I think is the absolute ceiling, and that's barely breaking even, if even that. If the marketing's higher though, I could see it being higher and the breaking even port being around 700 million. That wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. I don't want to bet against Nolan, not just because, betting against Nolan isn't a great idea, but because I love Nolan. I love what he's created. I do like Oppenheimer a lot. Dunkirk doesn't move the needle for me. Dunkirk is the one Nolan movie that I respect it. I think it's a very, very well made movie. It's not for me, and I don't enjoy it all that much. Tenet, even. I defend Tenet. All right. I love the concept. The reverse time dilation is really interesting. It keeps my brain intrigued. You just needed a plot and characters and better sound mixing, because in the boat scenes you can't hear what Kenneth Branagh is saying in the slightest. But yeah, the concept deserves a remake. I think Tenet should be remade because its concept is fascinating. It's a really cool idea. It was just underserviced by the protagonist, he's literally just called the protagonist. He doesn't have a name, just the protagonist. He's underserved by that and the plot. So I still enjoy Tenet. I've seen it only twice though, and I defend it. A lot of people say it doesn't make sense. It does make sense. It's just boring, so they miss the important details of it. I defend Tenet, but I can't defend the Odyssey. That's where I'm at, and I hate being in that position. But we should probably move on. I could talk about the Odyssey forever, but it's nice to get some of it out of my system. The next thing is going to be a lot more positive. Artemis 2 has been over now for several weeks, but we're still getting amazing things from the Artemis 2 mission. Just about a week ago, Artemis 2's photographs were dumped to the public for free. 12,000 images were dropped by NASA. Some of those photos aren't that great, some are just missed shots and stuff like that, but they were truly transparent. They gave the public everything. They gave them all of the evidence. They gave them all of the photographs. Some great treasures were found. Some incredible photographs of the Earth, of the moon that we didn't know were there were revealed to the public. And it's absolutely beautiful. I love going through all those photos. Obviously, I'm never going to get through all 12,000 of them, but there are some really great photographs in there. But something that I never expected to come out from those 12,000 photographs is something like this. What we have here is several of those Earth photos of the night side of Earth that were taken with the proper ISO and shutter time and everything like that to brighten up the dark side of the Earth, so the moonshine on it makes everything more visible. This is an iconic shot that came out when Artemis 2 was actually still in the air, I believe. We're still flying. These images have been stitched together by someone, lightened up even more, and obviously rotated because the other ones had Africa upside down from how we typically view Africa. So this person, whoever made this, I'm sorry, I don't know who it was, it's not listed here, stitched these photographs together frame by frame, because that's what film video is. So it's totally fine that you put photographs together. Some flat earthers are like, hey, why would you put images together really fast? You mean a video? But these images were put together, and we gotta see this. The light reflecting off satellites around the Earth. And no, that is not the scale of those satellites. That's just the light reflecting off of them. That's what makes them visible, is the camera settings, the lighted up images, and just light reflecting off the satellites. You can see so many of them, and I think it's beautiful, but there's more to this than that. Over here on this side, you can see the sparkle of a thunderstorm. Up here, you can see the northern lights rippling. You see an alive, living world with a technosignature. We are a species visible from space. And I find that absolutely incredible. I hope you all do as well. Seeing our world like this, like never before, with evidence of our existence, with lightning flashes, with northern lights rippling, this is something that should become iconic. I think we need to have a name for this series of images, just like we do the blue marble for the pale blue dot. Some suggestions I've seen are the cosmic seashore, or ones that make reference to Carl Sagan. I think this set of images is really that important and that special that we need it to be named so it can be remembered properly. I don't know if you all feel the same way about this as me, but to see evidence of our own existence this far from Earth is wonderful. Did we just cut out for a second there? It didn't cut out on my end. That was not Spectrum. If it did, I'm showing clear numbers. We haven't dropped a single frame due to Spectrum. Not a single one. But YouTube there for a second was like, no signal. So I hope you guys didn't lose signal during that. But it's beautiful. Dash says Earth love. Yes. I need to. It's a glitchy GIF. It could be cleaned up. I'm hoping, someone else can replicate these results, because these results are replicatable. It's not, just someone who made it up or anything like that. These are publicly available images that you can do the exact same thing to. I hope someone cleans it up and makes it into a nice smooth GIF or something like that that can be used as a background or something like that. It's really quite beautiful. We live in a wondrous world, and too many people lose sight of that. Too many people get so nihilistic for whatever reason, and die. Everything's so dire. Everyone's so depressed that there's no reason to go on. But just sit back and enjoy the beauty. If you're in a place that can see the Milky Way band, go outside tonight and just look up at that. I could stare at the Milky Way band for hours. I haven't seen it in years because I've been living in too close to big cities for a long time. But in my youth, I was able to see it so often. And, astronomy gives people's perspective. It's a religious experience for some, and whether or not that's Christianity or, religion without religion, just it's a spiritual thing, seeing our place in the universe, and I think it makes you a better person. I do think space travel will make us better people, just from that amount of perspective, from that spiritual angle of space travel. But even astronomy, I think astronomy can help give us a glimpse of that. We can't lose sight of how beautiful things are, or we won't care when they're destroyed. God, I am way over dramatic today. I hope I'm not driving anybody away by by how over dramatic I am. You're getting a real dose of the way I think and the way I feel about things. So it's not a lie. I don't regret saying anything that I've said, but anyone who's here who's never been here before is getting a strong dose of Jed. Getting a dose of Jed all over them. So bad. Oh. Alright. I think we can do the last topic and move on to chat, choose, and adventure so we can start wrapping things up. So let's start with the next one. In 1977, two spacecraft were launched from Earth. NASA's Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 spacecraft set out for the outer solar system. These two tiny spacecraft, powered by RTGs, radioactive decaying isotopes, were sent out into the void to discover what was out there, to study the outer planets and see what they could. But miraculously, these spacecraft outlived their initial mission. They saw everything that they were designed to see and were still kicking. Even to this day, they are pressing out into interstellar space, going as far as they can before the lights eventually do go out. Thanks to the nuclear power that drives them, they can go for so long. But unfortunately, the electronics within them are not reliable, and things do take power. The more things they can shut down, the longer those spacecraft will continue communicating with Earth. At this point, they could literally go out on their trajectory forever, as long as they don't intersect any other astronomical body or get caught in something's orbit. The Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 spacecraft could continue for the rest of the universe in the direction that they're going. But losing connection to Earth is something that will tragically happen very soon. Thankfully, the geniuses at the Jet Propulsion Laboratories are continually finding ways to keep that communication with Earth intact. Voyager 1 is nearly an entire light day from Earth. That means it takes nearly 24 hours for any signal to get here from the Voyager 1 spacecraft, and a whole other day to get sent back. How do you have a conversation over that distance with a human being, let alone a computer? You're sending small bursts of information, telling it what to do, getting a little bit back. It must be mind-boggling. Yet, they're keeping that connection alive. They're telling it to change things about itself. Briefly, last year or the year before, Voyager 1 did lose contact with Earth, at least in its primary sense, And the NASA engineers were able to send a message to it to tell it to change something slightly and restore connection. These people are absolutely incredible. Right now, they're working on something new. NASA's twin Voyager spacecraft are very low on power after nearly 50 years. How long can they keep going? NASA is gearing up for a Big Bang activity that could extend the lives of the Voyager's remaining instruments. So one thing that they've been doing the last few years is turning off instrument after instrument to save power on the Voyager to keep that radio alive. That's the main thing that they want. Yes, there's still fuel in it that's still propelling it, so it's still accelerating. But the most important thing is the radio at this point. They don't need some of the other instruments for studying the outer planets, moons, or anything like that. It's just about going as far as they can right now. That is the chief goal left to these spacecraft. And the Big Bang, all it's doing is changing the way the fuel lines are kept warm. Right now, there are 3 separate systems designed almost exclusively for this purpose, but the engineers at the Jet Propulsion Labs were able to find a way to heat the fuel lines with some other instruments, turning off those massive power suck ones, and it will enable them to use more of those observational instruments for longer, extending the lifespan of both Voyagers by a fair amount with keeping some instruments on. And I think that's absolutely incredible. This is a risky maneuver by all accounts, so it may not work. It may only hasten the decrease in power, but they're fairly confident. So I'm confident in their abilities to extend it out. These small spacecraft are the first interstellar objects made by mankind. These man-made objects are beyond our solar system now. And as I mentioned, they could continue on forever. So the longer that we can stay in contact with them, the longer our thread to space beyond our solar system lasts. I just want to show this incredible tool that NASA offers to the public. It shows us where both the Voyager spacecraft are at any time. It is so far from the solar system that I cannot zoom out properly to show you. That's how big the scale is that we're talking about. There it goes. All right, so it eventually worked, but look how far away that is. This is the orbit of Pluto, and that's Voyager. It's incredible to see the byproduct of the feats of mankind travel out this far. This craft is from 1977. This isn't even a recent achievement by humanity. This is the Apollo era NASA engineers making something that has withstood nearly 50 years. Next year is the 50th anniversary of the launch of Voyager 1. It's currently 2.5 billion kilometers and nearly 23 or around 23 hours away. Voyager 2, I have no idea where it is in this graphic right now, but it's 21 billion kilometers away and 19 hours of delay from Earth. These are vast distances, and we're still communicating with them. I can't help but think that this is the ball of thread in the labyrinth, guiding Theseus out of the labyrinth. This is our thread away from our imprisonment. And no, it's not an imprisonment that's bad necessarily on Earth, but it is an imprisonment that I hope that mankind someday overcomes. And this is an incredible first step in that journey. The longer Voyager is alive, the longer this feat of human brilliance stays alive. And that has value in and of itself. I hope Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, a long life yet to come. I hope this Big Bang plan works to perfection and buys more years from it. It's got to at least make it to the 50-year mark. Next year is the 50-year mark of these missions. They've done well. They far exceeded their mission parameters. But I hope they still have a little bit of fight left in them. Judah said, "There's a line from a song that goes, 'Bathed in the light of a long dead, in a star long dead.'" I love that. That's beautiful. I need to find out what song that is because that's beautiful. I really like that. That's what we are. There's stardust in us. Everything that we know is, got some cosmic dust in it. The Earth is made of cosmic dust, technically, and gold isn't made on Earth. It's not a naturally occurring ore on this planet. There's space isn't something divorced from us, something so far away that it doesn't affect our lives. Everything that we are, everything that we do, everything you see is affected by space. We can't ignore it. We can't stop astronomy, can't stop space exploration just because people don't think it's important. It helps us understand our own planet, our place in it, and literally what makes up everything. There are few sciences that I think are quite as important as cosmology, astronomy. Of course, things like medicine do take precedence, biology, stuff like that. But there are countless timeless benefits to be wrought from space exploration, astronomy, cosmology. Why do people think there's no value in understanding our universe? Understanding is its own value. The inventions that come from the space programs have value, but there's countless things. It really does depress me. Not just the conspiracy theorists who think it's all fake and a lie, but the people who think, yeah, it's all true, but why bother? It's a waste of time. It won't help me pay my bills, so it shouldn't exist. Such a dour view of the world and existence. Dash said, did some emojis. I hope the Voyagers last. They deserve to. Judas, it's showing my age, but I remember as a kid when they were launched. It's amazing. It's amazing that they're still going. That's incredible that you were there. And so they were publicly broadcast. Like, was it a big deal back then that they were launching? People knew about it. I wasn't aware that it was that prominent in the zeitgeist that you remember it as a kid. That's awesome. I'm actually looking up that song right now and saving for later. Judas, the song is Husk by the group Dry the River. Okay. I don't think I've ever heard of them, but I will definitely be checking them out if they have a line like that in their song. That's incredible. All right, I've gone through all my topics for today. We got to the 2 hour mark, so I think it's time for the chat choose your own adventure segment of this stream. Judah says, "Oh yes, it was a very big deal. I'm glad. I'm glad it was. It's kind of hard for me to predict what people felt about astronomy and space travel before my lifetime. I knew, of course, the Apollo missions, especially Apollo 11, broadcast everywhere, fueled partially because of the space race, but they were just incredible moments in human history. I'm so glad to see that people were caring about the smaller missions too, like the Voyagers. Do you remember Hubble being a big launch? Because Hubble's coming up on its end of life. They're taking up the Roman Space Telescope. Where I was talking about that earlier as kind of its pseudo replacement. Hubble has still got some life left in it, though. But yeah, these days, Artemis was a true surprise how much it unified the world behind astronomy. People were excited about astronomy for the first time, but I've never in my lifetime seen that type of excitement. So I just kind of assumed the Voyager missions kind of happened and people weren't paying attention to it because that's what I would have imagined happened today or anything like that. Like I no one talks about New Horizons, and New Horizons saw some beautiful things. Juno's made some great discoveries, or will. But yeah, that's great to hear that at least at one point stuff like the Voyagers were viewed well. That it was a big deal that they were launching. I absolutely love that. But yeah, it's time for the Chat Choose Your Own Adventure segment of this stream, right after a quick word from the sponsor of today's video, today's stream, Plotter. This video is sponsored by Plotter. Every writer knows the drill. Staring at a blank page, characters ghosting you mid-plot, timelines unraveling like a bad sweater. That endless loop of what happens next, sucking the joy out of your story. I lived it. Outlines and chaos, competing storylines driving me mad. For the longest time, my notes were thick, blocked-out paragraphs, and my outlines were never-ending bullet points that stretched for more pages than my first drafts. Then I found Plotter, my plotting lifeline. Visual timelines that snap into place, drag-and-drop scenes to tame the wildest arcs, character sheets that keep everyone on track. It turned my latest novel, a 200,000-word juggernaut with multiple character perspectives and solar systems worth of lore, into an easy-to-understand, trackable project, complete with the series Bible, multi-track storylines, and lore documents that make world-building a breeze. And check out their latest feature, a seamless note-taking system for all those story and character ideas that don't have a home yet. Available for free to all users of the Plotter app. For pro users, your notes and files will automatically sync across devices with cloud storage. If you're tired of the plot purgatory, use my link or scan the QR code to get Plotter for life with a single payment of $150. Your epic won't write itself, but with Plotter it'll flow like never before. Link in the description. Let Plotter help you conquer your stories. Welcome to the Chat Choose Your Own Adventure segment of this stream, where you, the chat, with the combination of super chats and dice rolls from me, help me craft out fun short stories. They're usually wild, they're usually wacky, but my goal is to always make something that is fundamentally sound within the rules of its genre. It doesn't always work out that way. You guys throw me curveballs left and right, and I don't always hit them out of the park, but we always have fun with these stories. As always, high super chat starting at $1 can override any dice roll. With the dice rolls, I pick out the different prompts from these sections. For example, genre, we have science fiction, fantasy, mystery, thriller, horror, romance, parody, and of course, chat choice. Chat choice is a free space where normal chats in normal messages in the chat can decide the results without super chats needing to be spent. Lead character, we have father, gynecologist, mental patient, blacksmith, and Bigfoot. For setting, we have present day, past, future, non-human world, alternate universe, and of course, chat choice. For theme or style, we have maturing, hope, teen drama, hubris, acceptance, chat choice. And for wild card, we have rocket, wings, French, nachos, fedora, and chat choice. I will roll a dice to pick out the prompt from each section, and once again, high super chat starting at $1 can override these dice rolls, and they can become whatever you want them to be. It does not have to be an option from this list. After that, once we get into actually outlining the short stories, high super chat starting at $5 can introduce a twist at any point. I could be nearly done with the story, and you drop a super chat that says, hey, add in a dog girl, which has actually happened, and I have to figure out how to make that work. So this is just a fun little writing exercise, much like Mad Libs, to keep my skills sharp and to have you guys torture me a little bit, which I'm sure you all enjoy. Before I get started, just to catch up, Judas Goat Barbecue says, oh yes, it along with the Voyager missions were the first time we saw the outer planets up close. We didn't know they all had rings until these missions. It was a huge deal. Oh, that's so great to hear that people were excited about astronomy, not just manned missions and, thresholds like that. I didn't know that it was the Voyager missions that made people realize that, like Uranus and Neptune had small rings as well. I'm assuming that the world already knew about Saturn's rings, right? Because I think those are visible with typical Earth-bound telescopes, but that's great. Of course, Hubble had the minor issue at first, but the shuttle went up and fixed it. The shuttle was very useful. It was a lot more dangerous than the capsule system, but, there was something magical about the shuttle missions. I don't know what the issue that you're referring to is. I do remember hearing this story before. but I don't remember specifically what was wrong with it. And I have to take these off. Like I mentioned earlier, it is ridiculously hot in here, so they're fogging up like crazy. Dr. Rachel's back saying, it's story time. It is story time. Legata's bedtime story time. I could put you guys to sleep if I'm doing a poor job. Maybe that is what happens. Let me turn down the music. I think it might be a little bit loud. Just turn it down a teeny bit. Dr. Rachel says, fundamentally sound but fantastically stupid. That is an apt way to describe these stories that are written out. For those of you who don't know, if the total revenue of this stream equals $100, I will schedule a second stream called The Story Forge, where I will start to actually write out this short story. At some point, I'll finish it and make it available to all YouTube members. Along with that, my incredible wife, who's in the chat, Dr. Rachel, will do some exclusive artwork for these short stories, all of which will be made available for members. We have 5 short stories with accompanying pieces of artwork available now for members. They're wild, but they're a lot of fun, and I think I did at least a good job with those. So if you're a member or wish to become a member, those short stories are available for you on the YouTube side. Dr. Rachel said, I'll read my dissertation and put all of you to sleep. That might actually be a funny stream. Is you just, without context, start up your stream and you just read your dissertation until the end and see how it goes. If anybody watches, I think that would be really funny, but that's just me. I do actually think that's pretty funny. But let's start this off with genre. Like I said, we have science fiction, fantasy, mystery, thriller, horror, romance, parody, and chat choice. We've been getting parody a lot recently, so let's see what we have here. 2. Fantasy. I feel like it's been a little while since we got a fantasy. I can roll with that. Lead character, we have father, gynecologist, mental patient, blacksmith, Bigfoot, or chat choice. 5. I keep replacing number 5 with new options, and it keeps picking number 5, so I feel like I've gone through a lot of them, because Bigfoot has just been added. It was a replacement for the one we used last week. For setting, we have present day, past, future, non-human world, alternate universe, and chat choice. Future, so it's a fantasy set in the future about Bigfoot, okay? For theme or style, we have maturing, hope, teen drama, hubris, acceptance, and chat choice. 3. Teen drama. Okay. Teen drama about Bigfoot. And for wild card, we have rocket, French, nachos, fedora, and chat choice. Chat choice. Alright, so you in the chat, if there's some random item, person, thing, animal, it can literally be anything your twisted minds can come up with. Drop it in chat, and if there's a little bit of consensus, I just need a little bit of consensus between people, a clear favorite, we'll put that in as the wildcard item. And for any of these other categories, high super chat starting at $1 can override them and also make them whatever crazy, twisted, and wild things you have in your minds. But right now we have a story about Bigfoot in the future with teen drama and whatever you guys come up with. And yes, it's a fantasy. Let me get these objectives over here. Now, I'm not going to say what I'm about to as a way to make fun of religion or a certain religion or anything like that. But I did grow up Mormon, and I don't know if this is a typical thing for Mormons, but where I grew up, we were told and raised on that Mormons believed that Bigfoot was Cain, as in Cain and Abel, and that he was cursed to be Bigfoot because of killing Abel. There's also, you know, some weird things about his descendants and stuff like that, and who his descendants are, the descendants of Bigfoot and stuff like that. There's a story of Lorenzo Snow, one of the early Mormon prophets, meeting Bigfoot, and so that's just what I thought of here, was Bigfoot is Cain. I was looking at this. Solar flare, that's a great one. Disco ball. Those are great options. Anything from anybody else? Legatus, Judas Goat Barbecue, any of the lurkers. I love lurking myself, but any of those lurkers out there who have an opinion, something that they want to offer as a potential idea, go ahead and drop it in. You don't need to, you know, get too friendly with anybody, but if you have an idea, please feel free to drop it. And I am paying attention to the Kick side as well. We have almost about equal viewership over on Kick tonight as we do on YouTube. So if you're on Kick, feel free to drop a suggestion for this as well. Legata said, a teen drama about Bigfoot getting its first pedicure in the high school salon. I'm imagining, from what you just said there, Legatus, this is so bad, a Bigfoot version of Twilight, where it's just a bunch of Bigfoots as the Cullen kids, and they're pretending to be normal students at this high school, but everybody knows, those are fucking Bigfoots! Those are Yetis! I think that's kind of funny. I'm liking the solar flare idea. I don't know how I'm going to incorporate it, but I'm liking the solar flare one. Disco ball is also really good. Just need some consensus or other suggestions to make that wild card entry and start working on the idea. Oh, and I hadn't dropped this earlier. Let me drop this now. Of course, not everyone is comfortable giving YouTube money, and I completely understand that. I don't like to as well. That's why I personally use a lot of Stream Elements options for the people that I support on YouTube, like Adam the Renaissance Nerd. So here's the Stream Elements link. If anyone was hesitating to give a donation, there's this option for that as well. Dash, were Bigfoots who change from solar flares? Ooh, are Bigfoot's mutated by solar flares? That's a good one. That's an interesting idea. Yep, we just need another vote for a solar flare from the chat, or another vote for disco balls. Or a super chat can override chat choice as well. That's always a possibility as well. If, you know, Rachel really loves her disco ball idea, she can win. She can pay to win. The music is still going. Okay, good. Alright, if no consensus comes, I'm gonna have to make a decision in a moment here so we can keep it going. Judas says solar flare. Alright, we're going with solar flare. Thank you, Judas. Goat a barbecue. Okay, so we have a story. It's a fantasy about Bigfoot teen drama. Oh, I duplicated that there. We want future. I'd nearly forgotten about that, so that's really good that I saw that teen drama was on there twice. Okay, so fantasy about Bigfoot in the future with teen drama and a solar flare. What if I actually inverse that Twilight idea? This is in the future where a solar flare has hit Earth and the majority of the population was mutated. So it's planet of the big feet. And there's only like one family of normal humans left, and they're the Cullens. Dr. Rachel says, nah, go ahead with the solar flare. I know you do all the science stuff before the writing portion to prime your audience into picking science space-related things. That's totally the whole reason that the previous segment exists. You're absolutely right. Just to prep people to make the decisions I want them to make in chat. Choose your own adventure, Rachel. But what do you guys think of that story? I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And it's just going to be the first part of Twilight with the whole, oh my god, aren't you so different? Teen Wolf Bigfoot crossed with Back to the Future. Wasn't, what was his name? Michael J. Fox in both of those? Wasn't he Teen Wolf as well? I know he's Back to the Future, but I haven't seen Teen Wolf. Could be something like that. Yes, Michael J. Fox. Okay, I got that name right. But yeah, Teen Wolf, that's basically werewolf high school boy does high school things, right? And then Back to the Future, we could add a time travel element into it and have him sent into the future. I don't know what the solar flare would be about then. The Teen Wolf family were basically Bigfoot Cullens. Oh, there's a whole family of them in Teen Wolf. I did not know that. So do we want the big feet? Because I think that is the... what is the grammatically correct term for multiple Bigfoot people? This is like the Batman and Spider-Man situation. Is it Bigfoots or is it Big Feet? We might need to get consensus on this. I'm actually gonna Google it. Is it Batmen or Batmans? When referring to multiple versions of the DC hero, the technically correct plural is Batmans. Ooh. So, big feet would be right. The Big Feet. Yeah, they didn't tell Michael J. Fox he would be a werewolf. Okay, so the family knew he was going to be a teen wolf, but they didn't tell him. Okay. So yeah, the Big Feet. That doesn't sound as fantastical as Bigfoot, but yeah, the Big Feet. Are the Cullen people in this story Big Feet, or are they the non-Big Feet? Which way are we gonna go? I've seen Twilight once, so this is gonna be a hater's caricature of Twilight. I thought it was Bigfoot's. I was just going off the Batman thing. Is Batman's or... I don't know. I like Bigfoot's better. It sounds awful, but I like it better. Well, the name of the short story could be Bigfoots and Big Feet. That's a terrible title. That is an absolutely horrendous title, but I kind of like it. You're keeping up with the Big Feet. What's the version of Harry and the Hendersons? Benny and the Big Feet? Benny and the Bigfoots? Dash says, like the Harfoots in Rings of Power. Oh no. I'd memory hole. I don't know how I'm gonna watch season 3. I cannot remember anything that happened in the first 2 seasons to save my life. I'll probably have to rewatch both of those seasons in advance so I remember enough to properly critique season 3. That's gonna be awful. Big Shoes to Fill. Oh, that's a great, terrible title. Big Shoes to Fill. Uh, we'll go with Bigfoots. I prefer that one, so it seems like you guys are pro that one. We'll go with Bigfoots. But just gotta decide, are the Collins big feet, or Bigfoots, or are they the only non-Bigfoots? Big shoes to fill. If you guys don't have an opinion, I'm gonna make them, the Collins, the only non-Bigfoots. Inverse it a little bit. Oh, and by the way, I just noticed everyone who's chatting right now are members. Judas is a member with a blue stamp. I probably need to replace the Hollywood Scholar. What do you guys think? You're all members, so you guys get a vote in this. Do you guys like that I'm keeping the retro Hollywood Scholar stamps for members? That's what I'd set up back in the Hollywood Scholar day, and I haven't come up with any new ones. Or would you like me to come up with the new membership stamps for the rebrand? The retro feel for the people who've been around for a while, or something that lines up with the current branding. I'm happy to leave it or make up some new ones, so it's up to the members to decide. Collins are Bigfoots, okay. Then they probably just lived up north when a solar flare happened to get mutated, that way that they were isolated. You agree with Dash, the Collins are the Bigfoots? Okay, we'll just need to figure out how the solar flare affected just them rather than everyone. It is kind of funny that way as well. Dash says the stamps are fine unless you come up with something extra cool. Judas, I like the old ones. Okay, so yeah, unless I can think of something really good, we'll leave those. It's it's a way to keep Hollywood Scholar alive. I don't want to erase Hollywood Scholar, necessarily. I poured a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that channel, that version of this channel, for a long time, so I like having some DNA of it left in day-to-day operations here. So we'll keep it until I can think of something better. But I think we have our ideas, so I think Chapter 1 should be a bit of a prologue to show what, or how the Bigfoot family came to be. The fedora is forever. Yes, the fedora is forever. Even if it doesn't fit, it is forever. So yeah, Chapter 1, just how the Bigfoots became Bigfootses. And then Chapter 2, the cafeteria scene in Twilight, ending with the car crash save close-up breathing into each other's mouths. I'm just listing like the only scenes I remember from Twilight. And then Chapter 3 be focused on the main Bigfoot climbing into a teenage girl's bedroom to watch her sleep. God, that movie is so creepy. And then the final chapter could be her following him into the woods and, like running with him and being free and embracing that side of her. And that's the story, is her just falling in love with this Bigfoot. And that's the teen drama element. Well, we could say it's a metaphor for puberty. Alright, let's dive into it. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun. Do. Don't forget the baseball scene. Oh, God. I don't know where to put that in, because I don't remember it well, but is it just vampires playing baseball a little okay? Dash, the Bigfoot's hairy pelts would help shield them from a solar flare? You're right. It would. Actually, I want to save that great title for, this one. We'll do Here Comes the Sun. And we'll call this Wilderness. Ah! Alright, typical Canadian, because of course they're going to be Canadian. Family is vacationing up north. Winter glamping. Dr. Rachel, maybe chapter 4, he takes her into the woods towards his family playing baseball, and she's accepted by them. Okay, that's a good way to add that it ends on the baseball. Not close, bickering, or silent. Hoping the trip will get them to bond, but it's not working. You know, if we're doing this as an actual book, I would foreshadow the solar flare, but I'm not. I'm just going for it. Dash, if it's in Canada, they should be playing hockey. All right, we'll add in that that cliche. Dad tries to get them to play hockey, but his kids don't want to. He asks if they're even Canadian. Sullenly, I hope you're not offended, Legatus, by all this Canadianism. It's not meant to make fun. Dr. Rachel, I might die of cringe if I have to draw this. What would you draw? Would it be the baseball scenes, but with Bigfoot? Sure, I can capitalize that. Sullenly go to bed. Dad can't sleep. Worried about his family. Startled by incredibly bright northern lights. Way brighter than they should be. Excitedly gets his family to come out and watch. Yes, I forgot the R. Lights spark. That would totally be how this happens. In the camper. And phones short circuit. No, there's a C in there. I know. There it is. Phone short circuit. Confused. Each starts screaming and collapsing in turn. Yes, this is totally scientifically accurate what I'm doing here. A solar flare did bright northern lights, blew out the lights in their car, and then made them all collapse in pain. Hey, Siri's here. She's embarrassed by this story. Lay down. You're okay. You can lay down. Hey, what do you think? Is this a good story? Is this a good story? No? No. She'll calm down. Alright. Mutation. Alright, I did spell it right. See, I can spell things sometimes. Dr. Rachel, that's a good point. It should be hockey. Make it just different enough that the Twilight author can't sue you. Okay, we'll make it Uh, we'll make it hockey instead of baseball at the end. So you have to draw a Bigfoot or a team of Bigfoots playing hockey together. That's gonna be awful. Siri heard what you were writing and is trying to stop you. I think she is. I think she really is. All right, calm down, girl. Calm down. Wake up. All super hairy and have grown taller. In horror, they realize they're Bigfoots. This is ridiculous. Alright, so I need to remember the limited Twilight knowledge I have in my skull. Alright. I remember the staring at each other across the cafeteria. I think there's another version of that where it's the same thing but in a classroom. And then there's the car crash and the constipation look. Then there's standing creepily in her bedroom. And then there's the running in the forest, and we'll have them play hockey. Are there, Rachel, you seem to be a Twilight expert. Are there some scenes that I can add in to chapter 3? But I think I'm good for right now. Harry Hottie. Pretty teenage girl in cafeteria on her own, moping, trying to be emo to cover her loneliness and prevent her from realizing how boring she is as a human being, entirely devoid of anything even remotely resembling a personality. She would have to be possessed by a delusional person to finally feel like she even exists. If you can't tell, I don't like Twilight. Loneliness. Oh, I'm butchering my spelling, but I did it. You guys didn't see it. Dr. Rachel, this reminds me of a book series called The Adventures of the Bailey School Kids. They would totally make a book called Yetis Don't Play Ice Hockey. Dr. Rachel, I hate that you assume I know Twilight that well. Damn, I really hate how much of those damn books I actually do remember. I've never read the books. I thankfully have never done that. But, I mean, you remember the baseball scene that I didn't remember. That was purely what I was taking my evidence from. And, is this too harsh, chat? Pretty teenage girl in cafeteria on her own, moping, trying to be emo to cover her loneliness and prevent her from realizing how boring she is as a human being, entirely devoid of anything even remotely resembling a personality. She would have to be possessed by a delusional person to finally feel like she even exists. Because that's the method they used for Bella, is complete, flat, boring, so that the viewers could transpose their own personalities onto her. It's not harsh enough, Dash, to describe those movies. Okay. Okay, I'll leave it as is. Looks up to see a hairy hand. Across the room is a table of Bigfoots. She's scared. She's heard of the people changed by the bad solar flare a few years ago, but she didn't know any went to this school. She locks eyes with the biggest boy. They stare at each other, sweating visibly and panting. There is something irresistible about this Bigfoot. Dr. Rachel, they are an abomination, an abominable snowman, if you will. Damn. Alright, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? On the poop scene of class. We'll call it biology as the double entendre. Biology class, learning about puberty. We'll make the fake metaphor unsubtle. Learning about puberty. Girl ignoring the lecture. Her and the Bigfoot boy just stare at each other. The hair visibly stands up along his spine. Both yelled at by the teacher, but they still can't help staring. Dr. Rachel, the Bigfoot should have a job in a shoe shop. Oh, you're right. That's great. Okay, girl. I see you. I heard her chewing on something, and it was just her nails, but I thought it was something of mine. She's fine. Alright, biology, call it the poop crash. After school, she tries to find the Bigfoots, sees them across the parking lot. I don't remember why, like, what Belle is doing in the movie at this point, but I'm gonna go with this. Sees them across the parking lot. Can't stop herself from rushing towards them, a car screeches and swerves to avoid her. Moving super fast. The big foot blocks the car and saves her life. They both crouch with their faces inches apart, breathing open mouthed into each other's faces. They both have on pooping expressions. I can't decide if it's a good thing or not that we don't have any super chats, so I don't have to... I don't know if I want to write this story or not. I literally, like, part of me is like, oh my god, this is such a train wreck, you must write it. The other part of me is like, oh my god, this is such a train wreck, you must run away right now. They both have on pooping expressions. A noise distracts girl, and Bigfoot disappears while she's turned. Alright, I'm gonna add in the shoe store. We can do the shoe store here. Girl asks about the family around town, mostly kept to themselves since the flare, been aging slowly, and they creep everyone out. No one knows what they're really up to or like anymore. Does learn that her crush works in a shoe store warehouse. Alright, well, shoe store. Girl goes to shoe store, tries to act normal, but owner is suspicious. She keeps trying to get into the back. She's thrown out, and the owner threatens to call the cops. Bigfoot catches a glimpse of her as she sulks away. Stalker, because it is stalking. It's creepy. Girl wakes up in the middle of the night, scared. A dark shape in her room. Freaked out. Turns on the light, and he's gone. We won't have the conversation here. There was a little conversation, I think, in the movie, but I'm gonna move past that. Finds Bigfoot hair on the ground. Thinks it's romantic that he broke in and watched her sleep. How did anyone take these movies seriously when they came out, or the books? Alright, we're getting close. We got the hockey scene, we got the running through the woods, and then this will probably be them meeting. So I think the shoe store got us over that last hump. This is so weird. Alright. Welcome in, Ariel. A Bigfoot fetish? No, it is not a Bigfoot fetish. It is Bigfoot Twilight. Get it right. But yes, it is basically the story of the first Twilight before all the craziness happens. Just the initial teen drama stuff about meeting the vampire and shit like that, but with a family of Bigfoots rather than vampires. That's what we're going with. The furry lover. I am horrified and disgusted by this. Thank you very much. This is just how the dice is rolled, alright? This is the fault of the dice gods and chat. I bear no fault for this monstrosity. But I think I am lucky, Ariel, that there's been no super chat, so I don't have to actually write this out on Storyforge. Ariel, so then it's basically Bigfoot versus Loch Ness Monster. Alas, no Loch Ness Monster. It's just boring teenage girl thinks, ooh, hairy hot. You doubt there are Bigfoot fetish novels? Oh, Dash, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Alright, chapter 4. Finding Love. On her own, the girl treks out toward the Bigfoot home. Ariel, you know big feet don't wear clothes, and do you think they comb their bodies? We're gonna have the teenagers wear appropriate clothing. This is more Teen Wolf. Nearly gets lost, but her love propels her through all obstacles. This is so cringe. Propels through all obstacles. I wrote out that sentence. That might be one of the worst sentences I've ever written. Suddenly, he's standing before her. She trips and falls, only to gaze up at him, entranced. I don't know why I added a T there. When she does get up, they just sniff and skulk around each other like wolves. Finally, he whispers. Come. Dash, that must be one of the worst sentences I've ever written. The Twilight author repeated every sentence. I hope she did. I really hope she did. She's acting weird. But yeah, I what is it? Stephanie Myers? I hope she questioned her life decisions with every sentence that she wrote. And even more so, 50 Shades of Grey, which was initially a fan fiction of Twilight. I hope that person really has to constantly, to this day, question her life decisions. She's probably a millionaire by now, so who can blame either of them? Running wild. Run through the woods together, being free. She can't keep up, but he kindly waits for her whenever she falls behind. Hockey. Bigfoot family all together playing hockey. Bonded, happy, and close. Girl is blown away by how close they are. She cheers on the hockey. The Bigfoot's hockey game as she realizes that she's officially dating one of them. She's a part of their family now. The end. E.L. James's net worth is $150 million from just 3 50 Shades of Grey books. I doubt she's done anything else profitable in her life. I've written better books. Why can't I have $150 million net worth from what I write? Alright, but that brings us to the end of this story. God, it's a waste of time. It's funny though. It is absolutely funny. So let's go over it again. It starts with this rich family out in the wilderness of Canada trying to reconnect with each other through nature, and a bright set of northern lights wakes everybody up, and they go to view it only to find out that it is the result of a massive solar flare. The entire family is struck down by the radiation and wake up mutated into Bigfoots. We pick up a few years after that when this emo teenage girl has moved to this town to find there's a family of Bigfoots living here. And once she sees the oldest son, she is infatuated. She is in love with this hairy boy. She can't resist making creepy eye contact with him, and she doesn't stop making this eye contact even when a car nearly crashes into her. So the Bigfoot saves her life, and they squat making poopy faces at each other for a few minutes, just like the movie. It doesn't make sense to be friends anymore. We'll call it research. She becomes obsessed with finding out more about the Bigfoot, so she asks around town about him, tries to find him. Apparently he's working at a shoe store, and in her attempts to get access to the back room to see him again, she asks so suspiciously that she's thrown out of the store. So, and she has to go home. Hail Ariel with a $5 super chat saying, have big feet as vampires. Now have Loch Ness monsters as werewolves. Where she go, furry or scaly? Mwahaha. I don't get what I'm supposed to do with that. That's a twist. So yeah, that's a $5 twist. So we're not done yet, but let me finish the recap real fast. She wakes up, and he's been watching her sleep all creepily, then runs away. She goes out into the woods to find him the next day. They meet up, and they what is the term from Twilight 4? They bond? They imprint on each other. They run wild and come across the whole family being happily together and playing hockey. But, okay. So, Loch Ness monsters that the werewolves. So, God, I don't know how I'm supposed to do this now. Thank you for the $5 super chat, Ariel. Well, I missed. Dash said 9 million in 1 year alone from the first 50 Shades of Grey. That's awful. That's awful. Dash, Jed's shameful Bigfoot movie will break $1 billion, then he'll be sued by Stephanie Meyer. Oh my God. Ariel, well, Twilight have both vampires and werewolves, so we have to have a love triangle. Okay. So, I'll have that there's a frozen lake next to the hockey rink, and a Loch Ness monster, Nessie, breaks forth, and it's in a rivalry with the Bigfoot, so they run away, but the girl is unable to, so she starts talking to this monster, and turns out he's really nice too. She tries to get the Bigfoots and the Loch Ness monster to reconcile, but they won't, so she has to decide between them. Alright, so we're adding in just a chapter for that last minute twist. Nessie. Dash, the girl falls through the ice on the hockey rink and is rescued by the Loch Ness monster. That's better. That's really good, Dash. When the game is won, the girl runs out to congratulate her new man. Or could it be part 2 book movie? If you're saying you want to buy the prompts for next week, I don't know the second book or the second movie as well as I briefly know the first one, but you're right that it does need more time to develop than just the 3 entries. I mean, you're gonna have this be a 3-part series. Oh my God. Are you writing out this as a 3-part series? Ariel? Next week's Rider Flight will be, again, Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's the new time slot going forward. So, I don't think $5 is enough for taking over the entire Chat Choose Your Own Adventure next week. It's obviously enough for a dice roll or 2. We'll say, kind of doing this on purpose to hopefully go outside of your price range for it, but we'll say a total of $50 today from you, Ariel, and I will make a part 2 next week, and we'll do the second one. Otherwise, I'll just finish out this chapter here. Ariel, I mean, you're gonna have to have this as a 3-part. Oh, yeah, I already read that. I can't make this a 3-part series, especially not for $5. But yeah, we'll say $50 from you for this stream and next week's if you want to break it up by a week. We'll do the entire second book as next week's series of prompts. Damn, LOL. Oh, thank God. I didn't want something too unreasonable that, like, $5,000. I didn't want something so unreasonable, but just enough unreasonable that you probably wouldn't do it. Have to wait till next month. Oh, thank God. Alright. I'm sorry, Ariel. A whole nother week of this. When the game is won, the girl runs out to congratulate her new man. The ice breaks, and she falls in. Sinks to the bottom. The big foots. Yeah, Ariel, take care of yourself. Absolutely, take care of yourself before worrying about that. Dash, what a lack of faith. Jed abandons his billion-dollar franchise in the cradle. Yes, I have lost faith in my Bigfoot Twilight fanfiction. Alright, the Bigfoots. Ariel, this twist will just be a setup for the next month or so. Okay. Okay, we'll leave the door open for you making up your mind later. Unlike Jacob from Twilight, who literally robs the cradle. Oh. Yeah, I don't want to follow in those paw steps. The Bigfoots can't save her. Drowning. Sexy, scaly arms wrap around her and bring her to the surface. Feud. Bigfoots warm her and hiss at lake monster called Nessie, like the Loch Ness monster, but is just fishy man. Was swimming when the solar flare hit. She's entranced by him too, and indebted to him. Bigfoot boyfriend sees it and is jealous. She tries to bridge the gap, but the Nessies and Big Foots won't have it. Love triangle yearning. Girl carried away by boyfriend, but keeps her eyes locked on Nessie, who watches her go. Feels a yearning. She'll have to decide between fish and her. The end. We incorporated the twist. It came in just in time, and I didn't make it work, but I made it work. Alright, that is the end of the story. So everything I recapped before, hockey game, she falls into the ice, rescued by Nessie, new boyfriend is jealous of the way she's looking at Nessie, and a feud begins to form. She realizes that someday she'll have to make a choice between fish, or scale, and fur. The degenerate things that happen on this stream just blow me away. Just blow me away. But that's the end of it. What we're calling it there on this week's Chat Choose Your Own Adventure. Well, that was a wild one tonight, but it was a lot of fun. What do you guys think of this new time slot? Do you think it'll work for you going for it? I think it works. I was able to get through a lot of great topics, and the news segment and the Chat Cheers Your Adventure went for about an hour, which is a good length. And, you know, this feels like the first fully realized Rider Flight podcast since I got my new job, and I think this can work going forward. But of course, let me know how you guys felt about it, and thank you so much for watching, whether or not it was on the YouTube side or the Kick side. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you to Dash, Legatus, Dr. Rachel, Judas Goat Barbecue, and everyone else who was chatting or lurking. And special thanks to Ariel for the $5 super chat. It's always appreciated. And thank you all so much for hanging out with me. This week coming up, I'm going to play Crimson Desert whenever I get a chance. Definitely Thursday night, but maybe Tuesday or Wednesday night as well, because I'm trying to finish up the main story prior to Lego Batman coming out next week, because I want to be ready for that, to stream that, and I absolutely am looking forward to it. And Crimson Desert, I'm 200 hours in. I'm starting to feel not bored with it. I'm nowhere near there, but I feel my interest waning. So I want to finish before I'm bored with it. So we're definitely going to try to do that. Then, of course, Friday night on Dermy Wormy's channel, the Tryhards podcast returns, where Dermy Wormy, Adam the Renaissance Nerd, and I talk about the news of the week, do the wild, wacky news of the week, and do all the craziness that, you know, that stream turns into. So tune into that at 10 p.m. Eastern on Dermy Wormy's channel. Saturday Night Drive-In returns this Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern, where Adam the Renaissance Nerd and I will be talking about a true mythological classic, a technical marvel, Ray Harryhausen's Jason and the Argonauts. Should be a great discussion. Then, of course, I'll be back next Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern for the Rider Flight podcast. 25 episodes next week. Should be a lot of fun. Let me see. Ariel probably will work. You think so? Great. I'm pulling for Nessies. For the Nessies, of course, your team scale. Your team scale. But once again, thank you all. But that's all that I have for today. If you enjoyed this stream, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. The more support this channel gets, the closer we are to publishing the Endless Frontier novels. Until then, have a stellar day, and stay curious.